everyone, welcome back to my channel for my first actual YouTube video talking about a book. I'm going to discuss with you A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas. I'm so glad I read this book. I haven't read a lot of fantasy, so I was a little bit hesitant to go for this book, but on the recommendation of Sasha from A Booktopia, I decided to give it a go. I'll post her this video or send it to her so I can give her credit for basically making me read this book because I enjoyed it so much. I am talking about this having read the second book, so just bear in mind I'm a little bit biased. I'm not going to talk about the second book in this video. I'll do another video on that book, but just bear that in mind that I sort of have that bias already. So A Court of Thorns and Roses is the first in the trilogy of the ACOTAR series. It's high fantasy set in a mythical world where humans and fairies are divided. Now these fairies aren't like Tinkerbell fairies or cute, they're really powerful, beautiful creatures, kind of like how I imagine Shakespeare's fairies to be, kind of playing with humans and generally being slightly evil and mischievous. Now at the start of the book, Feyre is hunting to get food for her family. I love the opening line of the whole book. This is what made me want to read it. The forest had become a labyrinth of snow and ice. It just completely sets this whole world building thing that Sarah J. Maas is so good at. I saw so clearly in my mind throughout this whole book each world that she created. I really didn't like her sisters in this book. They're sort of useless and I got like an ugly sister vibe from them, and her father is just sort of depressed and not doing anything. So it's a really strained family dynamic from the start. Now Feyre goes out and kills a wolf. She's not sure if it's a literal wolf or a fairy disguised as a wolf, but she takes the split-second decision to kill that wolf to get money for her family, and this is the event that starts the events of the book rolling. The Lord of the Spring Court comes to basically claim her life for killing his friend, either by killing her or taking her to his kingdom. Now obviously she chooses to go to his kingdom because our protagonist isn't going to die in the first 5 minutes. So off she goes to Promethean with Tamlin, High Lord of the Spring Court. Now I actually had mixed feelings about Tamlin at the beginning. I thought, why is he taking her if he's a decent person? What's going on? And then I realised it's a sort of loose retelling of Beauty and the Beast. So when the kind of love plot line started seeping through with he was really kind to her, his father used humans as slaves and he didn't want to be like him, I started being more sympathetic towards Tamlin. I did quite like the relationship progression with Feyre and Tamlin. I think it was well done that she didn't immediately fall for him. So when Tamlin and Feyre had quite the steamy scene, wasn't expecting that. That was great. I really like the small characters that pop up, like the cereal that can only tell the truth that she traps, and all of the evil blights that seep in, just giving us clues about what's going on when Feyre doesn't know. I really liked Lucien. Lucien's great. He's Tamlin's sort of sidekick, right-hand man, really suspicious of Feyre to start with. But eventually when their relationships start building because she's trapped in this place, I start to like him more. Now, after a few chapters of basically world building, which Sarah J. Maas is so good at, I became interested in where these characters were actually going. An insight into that is at Calamai. I love that Sarah J. Maas created these festivals that happen in the different fairy courts, like specific to that court, just to make the world seem a little bit more detailed. And Calamai is like I can only describe as like a neo-pagan sex ritual that the High Fae Lord does at the Spring Court every year to, I don't know, be a fertility god or something like this. So Feyre is still told to stay in her room because she's human, and the fairies don't, and they don't want the fairies to kill her basically because she's just a human wandering around like, kill me, I'm human. But she sneaks out, he smells her scent, and then when he comes back later, he is really enraged that she went out because he's obviously so attracted to her scent. When she went there and somebody tried to grab her, and Rhysand shows up, the High Lord of the Night Court. Now, I have ACOTAR Mist and Fury in my brain reading this, and so this scene, I don't even know how she wove this scene into it, but I, reading this book, was sort of didn't like him, but was also kind of fascinated by him when he appears. I got the sense that he was going to be an important part in the book eventually. When Feyre starts to think that things aren't quite right in the fairy realm, she goes back, and that's when the action scenes get really, really good. Because Feyre, human, no special powers, with a bow and arrow and a knife, goes in to try and save Tamlin. I'm not going to go into loads of detail about why Tamlin was now in danger, because I don't want to just repeat the plotline of the book, but I really liked how it was Feyre that had to save Tamlin this time, because for half of the book he's been saving her. Under the Mountain, I think, was the most well-written part of this book. I really liked the detail. We got to meet a lot of the other High Lords of the courts. We understood a little bit more the political system of the fairy society and how it's being managed by this evil Aramantha. Oh, don't like Aramantha, she's just evil. I kind of envision her as Maleficent from Sleeping Beauty in the film, where she's just terrifying. That's how I see Aramantha. When she gives Feyre this option that she'll give him Tamlin back if she completes these 3 trials, I was so excited because I thought, oh, no, there's going to be some action. I was kind of sick of the romance plotline by now. It got a bit cheesy for me. I didn't really like that he was just like, I love you, straight away, just out of nowhere. Just, they've known each other a few months. Calm down, Tamlin. The part Under the Mountain was so interesting because we also met Rhysand again. Now he's kind of a shady character, wandering around. At some point during the trials she nearly dies because her arm gets infected, and he bargains with her for her life. Now one part of me thought, okay, he's the only person helping her. Tamlin's kind of just pretending that he can't do anything, but at the same time this slightly sleazy guy is like all over her. I really liked the part where he would paint her so that he would know if somebody else touched her. Now, I thought at the time that was being a little bit territorial, but then I started to think, if Tamlin had touched her, Aramantha would know, and Feyre would no longer be safe. And that's exactly what happens. Tamlin, when he could have been helping her try to escape because they got away from the crowd, decides to try and have sex with her instead of trying to free her. What's up with that, Tamlin? But Rhysand basically covers it up, saying by pouncing on her and pretending that it was him. So let's talk about the end of this book. Feyre's character arc has gone like this. She's been a huntress trying to support her family, come into a completely different world that Sarah Maas builds so beautifully, falls in love with this fairy High Lord, and then almost dies trying to save him. So you'd think that was enough of a good book on its own, but right at the end of this book I think is the most crucial scene to the next one, where Rhysand basically reminds her of the bargain they made, that she has to spend 1 week of her life with him in order for him having saved her after she hurt herself in the arena. And this scene on the balcony, when they're all just getting ready to leave Under the Mountain after Aramantha, I thought in that moment, Rhysand is her mate. It's just that look he gives her at the end of the last chapter. He turns around and he has a slightly shocked face, and I think, yeah, So at the end of this book, I was thinking in terms of characters, we're going to end up with a love triangle where she has this sexual relationship with Rhysand, but she's in love with Tamlin. There's going to be some kind of political disturbance in terms of the action because this one system has come crashing down and now they sort of need to orchestrate this new Prythian. There's a kind of happily ever after for Feyre and Tamlin that I wasn't quite sold on because there were so many loose ends to tie up, especially with the whole Rhysand thing. The one thing I want to say about this book is that if you don't love it, read the second book. If you don't like it, read the second book, because after reading this and then reading the second one, The Court of Mist and Fury, everything makes sense in this book. The parts that I didn't like of this book, I understand now why they were there, because the second book explains it in so much more detail. I didn't like how kind of slightly mushy and romantic this book got. It was a little bit too much for me, but there's a reason for it. There's a reason why. Everything that Sarah J Maas makes you feel while you're reading this book, it's because she wants you to feel that way. So if you're thinking, I don't like this character, I'm not sure about these people, what's going on there, there's a reason why she's doing that. She's a really good writer, and everything gets revealed in the second book. I'm going to end the video here because my battery's running out, but I hope you like this slightly babbly talk. I'll try to make my next one a bit more structured, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!